Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to opening day of the 12th season for the Midwest F1 League. It's kicking off here tonight at the Jeddah Corniche Circuit in Saudi Arabia on the eve of the third practice session and qualifying for the real-life Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Not many better tracks to kick off a season than this one. Hotspot on the call with you. Great to have been able to join once again here. This will be my 10th season in Midwest F1 in the comms booth. Incredible. But what's even more incredible is we've got ourselves a lot of talented drivers on the grid tonight. 16 of them to be exact, which doesn't sound like a lot, but we're not missing people like how do I put this? We're missing the Williams and the Haas team. Everybody else is in. So we've got 8 constructors with both drivers, which is a quite good start to the season. So there is a lot in play here as we kick things off in the middle of the desert. Well, not in the middle of the desert. Saudi Arabia is not as much of a desert, at least this part here in Jeddah. But one of the most difficult tracks that we do have on schedule should be a very fun one. Matter of fact, speaking of the schedule, let's take you through our Season 12 schedule. Saudi Arabia this week, naturally what we're at now, the Hungaroring. Next week, March the 14th. Australia for round 3 on the weekend of the real-life Australian Grand Prix. That'll be March the 28th. Dry race from Brian Mosser. Thank you very much. I would not expect anything different in Saudi Arabia, but I appreciate the ping. we go to Japan for round 4, which I believe is also a real-life race weekend. They've moved Japan up the schedule quite a lot. Remember, that's usually one of the last races of the season. It's now within the first 5 races is Japan. Qatar being round, what is that, round 6, April 11th. Monza, round 7. That'll be on April 18th, Brazil, April 25th, Miami, May 2nd, Belgium, May the 9th, Imola, May 16th, Singapore, May 23rd, France, the race I'm sponsoring, May 30th, Canada, Montreal, June 6th, and the final round of the season is the Red Bull Ring for June 13th. Should be a very entertaining schedule here, and a good season nonetheless. A lot of talented drivers, a lot of those which we're going to bring to you now. The driver I'm going to be looking at this season has to be Electric Blade 93X. This guy, so talented in whatever car he drives. And, well, not only do we have these guys on track tonight, Division 1, we saw a lot of good drivers from Division 2 make their way, A-Dub being one of them. And I tell you what, that guy's got some serious talent, and I would assume Div 1's going to be set alight this next season. Cake Thomas, the veteran, on track now. I believe he joined Midwest in Season 3 or Season 4. He's been around a long time as well. He's very big part of the community nowadays, and it looks as if the Mercedes of, it's going to be DB the Best, on track to start here as he makes his way through Sector 2 at the moment. Behind him is the Ferrari of, it's going to be Electric Blade in the other Ferrari. Knuckles, another big member of the team here. He is, I don't know if he's been around since the beginning. He's been around pretty much since I was here, as far as I can remember. My first season was Season 2 in Division 2, which I think it was the first. That was the first. I want to say that was the first season we had Division 2. I could be wrong. But, yeah, I've been around pretty much since the beginning of Division 2 here, and it's been great to see. Knuckles on the lap as well. But let's take you through the lap here with DB the Best. He's made his way through 1 and 2 now. It's a very tight and tricky couple of corners there. Got to watch out for, well, not necessarily track limits, but kind of oversteer on the way out. Turn 4 here, tight left-hand corner. Got to take as much of it as you can. They've moved that apex barrier in by about a couple of meters or so. Through 6, 7, and 8. Very tricky section there. Got to watch out for the raised curbs. Those car will, well, as I like to describe it, good old-fashioned Tony Hawk Pro Skater. The car will bottom out and you do a good old 50-50 grind on the rail, and that car will go straight off the track. Taking the wide line, exiting the hairpin of turn, well, sorry, not the hairpin, the sweeper of turn 13 there. Taking the high line around the banked corner. Turns 16 and 17, one of the only heavy braking zones on this track. I mean, this is the fastest street circuit in the world. The 75% of the lap taken at full throttle. And there's only a couple heavy braking zones. So turn 1, turn 4, I would say, heavy as well. 16 and 17. 22, not really heavy. It's only down a couple of gears. And then here into turn 27, which we'll see DB the Best have here in just a second as he makes his way. Uses a lot of the outside, cuts down as much of the track to the inside as he can. He holds exit brilliantly, has to be said there. DRS activated. Now, down there on the inside of that white line, they've actually told the drivers, well, it's a 1:27.987. Good lap there from DB DeBest, as it's immediately topped by Electric Blade, 27.75. That's a great lap there for the Ferrari, but can we go along with any of the drivers coming out of the final corner now? Down to the inside there. That is a very crucial part of the track. Now, before, you used to be able to take a lot of the inside and shave some time off. You're not really allowed to do that anymore, so the drivers are going to have to deal with that. They'll have to just really prioritize the exit of 27 in order to get a good exit here, and the driver who may do that is Los Manigos as he makes his way down the pit straight now. So he used a little bit of it there, but either way, well, he'll be about 6.5 tenths of a second off. As a matter of fact, he's 5/1000ths quicker than Knuckles for that 5th spot. Currently, Cake Thomas has gone second. 2 tenths of a second separate the top 2. 2.5 separate the top 3. Good little statistic to have as we are finishing up the first couple of rounds of timed laps here. Slayer Eyes has gone P4. About 4 tenths of a second off. That's pretty good. He's cleared Fire Up Flow by 2 tenths. I believe the Aston Martin that time of Reimer is actually starting one here. Reimer had a really good Division 3 campaign, despite joining rather late in the season. This is going to be a driver I really look forward to watching here. I've got about 3 leagues with him to commentate on so far, and this guy has been pretty much incredible and consistent through each and every one of them. Say going fastest, though, 1:26.516. Now, that's the fastest time we've seen by miles so far, almost a second and a half clear of Electric Blade, the first driver we've seen into the 1:26s. That is a massive lap for the Alpine. Reimer into the sweep at turn 13. He takes a lot of the apex low. That'll sacrifice exit speed, but it'll save him on time initially. Into turn 16 and 17 now. Oh, he's hit the wall on exit there. Well, that was a noticeable impact on the outside, had to be said. DRS activated anyways. He stays going. Into 22 and 23 here. Downshifts into 5th. Oh, and the Ferrari across the track. I don't think he needed to lift there. But that was Electric Blade, who something had happened with him. And he was right across the circuit there. I'm really surprised that didn't influence Reimer's lap there. At least it didn't look as if it did. But let's see what happens here. I mean, thankfully for Reimer, he was kind of on the way out of a slow section into a quicker section. He would have had more time to react. It's a 1:27.537. It's about a clean second behind Say for the time being. I would think Reimer may have a little bit more there that we're not seeing, especially after the Ferrari of Electric Blade was kind of perpendicular across the circuit there. I'm thinking we might see a little bit more. And I'm just wondering what happened with Electric Blade, because he was in a very odd part of the circuit as well. It's not necessarily as if he was, in the racing line. That car was sideways, which told me he had a spin somewhere in that exchange, and that's a really odd part of the track to have a spin in, has to be said. Next up, we're looking at it's one of the Alpines. It looks like it might be Adeltonian. He's actually chosen the medium tires here. Adeltonian doing the old Scavney routine, taking the harder compounds of tires, and then the mediums, just get some reconnaissance done so you can, judge how the car feels. 10.5 minutes to go here. Say has pole by a second here as he makes his way into the pit lane. Reimer second. Electric Blade third. DB DeBest on an outlap now in the Mercedes. Quick in and out procedure for him. He was one of the first drivers to complete a timed attempt, and he's going right back out there immediately. Very eager to get back to it here. I believe that's one of the Alfa Romeos out of the final corner there. Ray Ray's gone deep into the corner. I'm not rightly sure what's happened here. Well, I tell you what he might be doing. He might be trying to diamond off the corner and then get back going here. Does he now stomp on the loud pedal? No, he's going to bring it into the pit lane. So that looked to me like it was more error. But, sometimes you can get away with going deep on purpose into the final braking zone in order to kind of, give yourself a running start out of the corner rather than trying to just put the power down on exit. You might see that sometimes at, Brazil, you go wider out of the final corner. You might see it even at, Zandvoort as well. Actually, a little surprised we don't see more of that. 9 minutes to go here. Cake Thomas on an outlap as well. DB DeBest making his way into the spoon curve. Turns 25 at 26 and into 27. Let's see what DB the Best can do here. He's about, well, he's within 5/100ths of Cake Thomas's P4 time. He's about 0.2 of a second away from Electric Blade P3, and he's about 1.5 seconds away from pole. Let's see if DB the Best can improve here. 8:45 remaining in the session. Makes his way out of turns 2 and 3, looking pretty good. That car appears to be on rails at the moment. Through turn 4 now. Takes a lot of the apex to the inside and holds it well. Through 5, through 6, through 7 and 8 currently here. Up to turn 9, the right-hander. Left-hander at turn 10. Got to be careful of exit. He's taken a lot of curb there on the way out. I think that may have slowed him down a little bit, and it has. He's slower by about 7/100ths at the moment. That's pretty much what I expected there. Takes the wide line again. We got the Mercedes Van Boom Mason, who has yet to put together a time, but he's on track as well. Oh, and that car hooked violently to the right. And that's going to be the end of his timed attempt, and I'm a little surprised that it was all the front wing that he's lost. That was going into 16 and 17. And that car just hooked violently to the right side. Something had definitely not gone correctly with that lap, but thankfully that car is, at the very least, still drivable. He'll need to come in and get the front wing change and whatnot, but very lucky that that wasn't the end of the session for him there. His teammate Van Boom Mason makes his way in towards turn 27. Let's see what he's got going here. Not a bad-looking time at the moment. A little bit slower on the way out. He's played it carefully. Coming to the line now, Van Boom Mason. He's going to be a 129 flat. That'll put him P10, a clean 2.5 seconds off the pace at the moment. I'll tell you what, that Alpine of Say looks relatively unmatched here. 7 minutes and 10 seconds to go. Cake Thomas making his way through Sector 2. He's about 0.4 faster through Sector 1. 2 additional tenths faster through Sector 2. That will tell me that that car is favored more for the downforce section of the track and not necessarily the straight line speed as he heads into 27. Exits the corner. I tell you what, he doesn't get as close to the wall as we saw Electric Blade, but still rightly close then. Across the line he goes. He'll go up to P3, 127.711, improves by 2.5 tenths there. He'll leapfrog Electric Blade, who's making his way into 27 now, along with Reimer, and I believe Mandigos is in this as well. I think Mandigos might be finishing up a timed lap here as he's making his way. No, looks like he's about to start one. Yeah, the battery is on, being used, so I'm assuming the pair of the Aston Martins are going to have a go here, and I'm thinking maybe is there a tow to be orchestrated here between the pair of the Aston Martins? Very much looks like there could be. Cake Thomas, let's see his Sector 1 time coming up here. A lot of scrubbing off the speed there, going through turn 9 on the inside. He is slower by 3.5 seconds. That's not going to be the lap to look out for, I'm afraid. Alpine off to the inside. Electric Blade through Sector 1 now, looking pretty good for the time being. Doesn't hardly use any of the curb on the exit. One of the more cleaner trips through Sector 1 we've seen so far. Across the timing line he goes. He's only quicker by 1.5 tenths, but that's a good start. For the time being, that'll put him P3 if he's able to compound it into something more. Looks as if one of the Aston Martins has slowed down, that being in the sweeper of turn 13. Through 16 and 17, that's where we saw DB the Best have his incident moments ago. Through the DRS section now, very much like the Hanoi circuit used to be. Bit of a flowing couple of corners there. Another 1.5 tenths quicker through Sector 2. 5 minutes and 10 seconds to go here. Electric Blade looking like he's on a good lap. Let's pull up the telemetry just to see his top speed. About 206 at the moment. Into the braking zone, he'll max out at 210. Into the braking zone at 27. Slayerized, I'm assuming we'll do just that. Say is about 206. Is what I could see, at least. Electric Blade to the line. He'll go second. 127.512. Improves by 2.5 tenths. Reimer decides to come in, so I'm assuming it was his Aston Martin that may have made a mistake. And it looks as if Say has come in as well. That's a little bit of... That's quite bold, actually. A lot of cars here suddenly canceling these timed laps here. I wonder what the case is. Electric Blade has managed to put his together, but... Well, look, Reimer was on a timed lap there, so was Cake Thomas, so was Slayer Eyes, so was Say for that matter. A lot of these guys just simply not having it. They're on their way back in. And now we got a slight lull in the session here. We're going to have DB the Best and the Mercedes come through Sector 2 in the moment. He'll be up to put together a timed attempt here shortly. Adaltonian making his way into turn 27, but look at all the battery that car has used. I'm not exactly sure this is going to be a timed lap here for the AlphaTauri, and he's going to be bringing it in, it appears. Yes, he will. On the soft tires as well, he does not improve from his time that he currently has set, so only a couple of drivers out on track. Five to be exact. Brian Mosser in the Alpine making his way through Sector 2. This is a timed lap from the Alpine here. Oh, he's had a lot of the wall on the outside of the corner. The Ferrari Fire of Flow has decided to retire. That is behind Brian Mosser? Yes, it is. That car is retired on track. Yeah, he's gone and done that on track, which is, well, it's a no-no most of the time. And I'm sure it's going to be one there. DRS activated, and across the line goes Brian Mosser. And he's going to improve by 0.3 of a second. It's not enough to actually move his way up in the leaderboards there. That's unfortunate for him. Well, what's very odd is that the Ferrari Fire of Flow, that car retired on track going into Sector 3, and the robot has actually pulled the car back in. Usually it's the other way around. Usually we see the car stay out on track. Mercedes Van Mason making his way into Sector 1 at the moment. His teammate of DB DeBest is a tenth and a half better through Sector 1. Heavy over the curb through 16 and 17. Perhaps that was similar to the mistake he made last time. 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining now, and 3 out of the top 5 currently on outlaps. Only 3 100ths better through Sector 2. He's lost time somewhere in that. DRS activated here for the Mercedes. Takes the inside line, round the spoon curve here, in towards turn 27. Doesn't really look as if this is going to be much of an improvement here for the Mercedes. Let's see if he even chooses to stay with the lap here. Yes, he does. DRS is going to be activated. And across the line he goes. Wow, he'll actually go second. 1:27.284. Improves by 0.7 of a second now. He was only 3 100ths faster through Sector 2. He's either done Sector 1 miles better, or he's taken all the front wing off of that car and has done straight for the speed. I tell you what, that is one hell of an improvement there for the Mercedes. From what I was watching with the times, that is a slightly unexpected amount of improvement there. Electric Blade on an outlap now. We have Say going through the spoon curve. We got 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining here. Electric Blade making his way through Sector 2, so is Reimer. As Cake is starting his now, and Slayerized making his way, what I believe is out already, going through Sector 1 ahead of Cake Thomas here. So we'll go along with Slayerized, Cake, and then Say is the next 3 drivers on time laps here. Slayerized making his way through Sector 1. Across the timing line now, he's held that complex of corners very well. 0.2 of a second quicker. At the moment, he's up to 4th if he can hold it. Through turn 13 now. Doesn't take the exit as wide. He actually stayed quite low to the inside that time, which is not exactly what we've been seeing from the majority of drivers. Through 16 and 17. He'll have DRS here, going through turn 19 and the rest of Sector 2. And he's currently 4.5 tenths quicker. And Valentine has binned it coming out of turn 27. And I'm afraid, could that have perhaps... I don't know what's happened there, but I'm worried that Electric Blade did not get a good enough go there at the end of his outlap because of the McLaren that had gone off to the outside. Well, DRS activated for Slayerized here. What does he have? He'll have P3, 1:27.356. Next up is Cake Thomas down the pit straight. DRS activated for him. And across the line, he will go P4, 1:27.393. Say, provisional pole sitter. Does he do it again? Well, he does not improve. He's slower by 5 1/1000ths of a second. The door, well, it's not hanging wide open, but it is open nonetheless. Electric Blade is quicker by 4 100ths through Sector 1. A lot of improvement still needs to be made. Reimer, a little bit further ahead. He's making his way in towards Sector 3 now. Let's see what he's got on the timing charts. Quicker by almost a half second. That'll put him, at the moment, second place. We're assuming that Sector 1 he's improved as well. Manny goes in the Aston Martin, making his way into the DRS section as well. So Reimer going to be this next driver up here on timed attempts. It looks as if it's a very good lap. DRS activated as he comes out of turn 27. Oh, I tell you what, this is going to be a close one here. Reimer across the line at second place, 1:26.959. Improves by over half a second. Electric Blade does not have enough, and he will call it quits for the session here. Mandigos, it looks as if, will not be putting together a timed attempt either, so it will be Say taking pole position by 4.5 tenths over the Aston Martin of Reimer with a really good lap there at the end of the session. DB DeBest third on a very good lap from him. The top 7 separated by a second and a half. So your starting grid then for the opening round of the season. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix here in Division 2. It's Say on pole, a very dominant display from him already here. Reimer in second, that's going to be a good starting spot for him. DB DeBest third, great effort for him. Slayerized fourth, Cake Thomas fifth. Electric Blade sixth, Fire Up Flow seventh. Good result for the Ferraris going at the moment. Manigos eighth, Knuckles ninth. 10th is the Noganator. 11th, Ambu Mason. 12th is Adeltonian. 13th for the other AlphaTauri Frenchie. 14th for Brian Mosser. 15th for Ray Ray. And Valentine P16. Well, I tell you what, Say already looks he looks like he's flying out of the gate here, miles ahead in qualifying for the most part, but he's got a lot of quick drivers around him. Reimer and DB DeBest, very, very quick. Slayerized, he's capable of a good result as well. Let's see what happens in the race. So formation lap about to be underway here. In fact, it is. Say will lead the grid off the line heading towards that first corner. Looks as if we got a couple of drivers on the soft tires tonight. Let's see what we have. As a matter of fact, well, it's only DB DeBest and Cake Thomas, so a couple is actually the only correct response to that one. DB DeBest and Cake Thomas and Boo Mason on the hards. Valentine's on the softs as well. Everybody else has chosen the mediums. Now, I think Say is going to have that outside line into the first corner. If Reimer can get away well, he may have a very good challenge into the first corner, although Reimer is not necessarily known for his grid starts here. He's a good driver, but I would say that's kind of a place where he may lack, is just getting off the line exceptionally well. Lap 12 to 16 is the stop from mediums to hards. For softs, it's 10 to 12 for softs to mediums. 25 laps of the Grand Prix yet to come here. DB DeBest is going to be looking to make some moves on this opening lap. He's starting on the soft tire. Slayerized in fourth. Good result for him so far. Cake Thomas in what very well could be a redemption season for him. Currently resides P5. Cake Thomas, I tell you what, these past couple of seasons has been struggling, has to be said. Really good driver, very much a veteran here in the league, but he'll be hoping to have a bounce-back year this one, as well as Adeltonian down there in P12, probably the most tenured Division 2 driver of all time, I would say. Pretty much since I've been here, he's been here. There's been a couple of times he's been on the cusp of moving up to Division 1, just hasn't necessarily found the luck at the right times, but we'll see if maybe this season's any different. For now, he starts P13. Say making his way back to the grid here. He'll have the right-hand side grid box into the first corner. He'll have the Aston Martin of Reimer down to the inside, looking to make the move into the first corner. So this is a very interesting kind of complex here, because as you go into the first corner, you'll have the outside line. As you go into the second corner, which is immediate right-hander, you will have the preferred line on the inside. So realistically, if Say can just not get immediately overtaken by Reimer here, he may have a good look as they exit the first couple of corners here. Cake Thomas has not found the grid box correctly. He'll start at a slight disadvantage. So has Frenchie, for that matter. And now the grid is all lined up for the 12th season here in the Midwest F1 League. 5 lights, and they are off here in Division 2. Now, who got the best start? It looks as if Reimer and Say have gotten away pretty evenly there. Say will clear the Aston Martin by the time they get into the first corner. The real action is happening behind. It looks as if the McLaren, despite having the disadvantage off the start, trying to pressure the Red Bull of Slayerized ahead. It's not necessarily going to happen there. A lot of just, I guess, playing calm off the start for the time being. No real massive position changes. Only 4 drivers on the grid have improved position so far here in the opening lap. Adel Todian will get around Ambu Mason, and I think Valentine and Ray Ray, yeah, both of them have missed. In fact, Ray Ray, Ambu Mason, Brian Mosser, and Valentine all had a bit of a mistake there going through turns 9 and 10. The corner in which Mick Schumacher had his incident, and Ray Ray is off at the back in the first safety car of the day, and that is exiting turn 13, the sweeper. Brian Mosser and Valentine having 5-second penalties for the collision with each other. I think Ray Ray may have just lost it on error coming out of that corner. I know he was trying to start on wheel for the first time here. And unfortunately, as you begin on wheel, that will definitely happen to you. You just get a couple of incidents like that where you mash the throttle input a little bit too much, and that's exactly what's happened. Although I think that car was different. I think he was kind of more on the outside of the circuit. So, yeah, not rightly sure, but the first lap of the Grand Prix ends in a safety car here. Say will retain the lead. Matter of fact, the top 6 will stay exactly the same as they were. Everybody else has actually moved up or down one. Back half of the grid, a lot of action going on there. Electric Blade will be the first driver to pit stop today. He will choose to pit from the mediums to the hards here very early on. I don't really know why he's chosen to pit this early. He hasn't come in to replace a front wing. Pure strategic decision from the Ferrari of Electric Blade. Was it the right decision? I don't know. It's tough to tell. Valentine getting a wing change here. Serving his 5-second penalty, and then here goes the wing change, as well as Brian Mosser having to do that as well. As demeaning as having to replace a front wing is, at least you were able to come in under the safety car and get bunched back up to the field here. And that's going to be that. Safety car on track. I'll step aside until it's over. Safety car will be in at the end of this lap. We'll get back going in the Grand Prix, starting on the 4th lap of the race so far. Say has led off the start here. Other than that, the top 5 has stayed exactly the same. We did have Electric Blade make an interesting early stop there from the mediums to the hard tires on the safety car. Everybody else that's come in has probably gone for wing changes. As they make their way into turn 27, let's see if Reimer can have a good start here and try to challenge Say. Reimer's actually going to try to look for that inside. That'll push Say kind of up the track. Let's see who gets away better, and now goes Say. And Reimer, well, it's taken about a second to react there, but it looks as if he's not really going to lose much time. Green flag back in the air here. Reimer may have a challenge into this first corner. Let's see. Say's going to force him the long way around. Reimer's going to try to keep the line. He's going to tuck back in line by the time to get to turn 2. Good defending there from Say, not allowing Reimer to get that position. Manigos here in the other Aston Martin might be having a look at Kate Thomas here rather shortly. As they make their way through the first sector, Say has now climbed out to about a 7.5 of a second lead. That'll put Reimer under pressure from the Mercedes of DB DeBest, remember, who started on the soft tires. One of the very few who did start on the softs here. Himself and Kate Thomas, and I think Valentine were the only 3 who did choose to start on those tires. Out of turn 13 they go. Mandy goes now to the inside of Kate Thomas. They're going to be side by side heading towards 16. Cake will make his way out in front of the Aston Martin, but I tell you what, Mandigos looks like he's got some pace here. He is really pressuring Cake Thomas here, and it has to be said, Mandigos being on the mediums and Cake being on the softs, you'd think that Cake Thomas would be starting to pull away here. He's not. Mandigos has him matched for pace, side by side into the 22. That's risky. Cake's going to have to go off track in order to keep the car clean. I think Mandigos may have given him enough room there. It's tough to tell. But now, Cake Thomas going to be under pressure from Fire Up Flow. Cake Thomas goes high. He may get around Mandigos with a good brake job here. No, it looks as if they're going to be side by side. Fire Up Flow tucks in behind, and it looks as if the Ferrari's going to stay put. DB the best, the Mercedes down to the inside of Reimer. That'll promote him to second. It looks as if Cake Thomas getting around Mandigos and Fire Up Flow, getting around both of them by the time they get to the first corner, if he can hold it. He still has the outside. The McLaren and the Aston Martin down low. Fire Up Flow, does he do it? Yes, he does. It's a great double overtake there for the Ferrari of Fire Up Flow. Nicely done. Up to 5th. The battling here has created about a second gap from the podium 3 back to Slayerized in P4. Cake Thomas, I think, might have a little bit of a problem with Mandigos in that overtake attempt down to the inside in through 22. Although, as far as I know, it looked quite clean. I thought Mandigos had afforded him enough room there to the outside. It wasn't necessarily if Mandigos afforded him enough room. He was closer to the apex on the inside. Cake Thomas is the one who had to go wide. I think that one is quite all right from a stewarding perspective. Mandigos here at 10th and a half now behind the McLaren as they make their way. No DRS yet. We have yet to have DRS activated in this race so far. Here it goes. Mandigos down to the inside once more. This is where he made the position last time, and Cake Thomas holds the spot for now as they make their way now into the spoon curve of the track here. A second separating each of these 4 cars from Cake Thomas back to Electric Blade in the Ferrari of a yellow flag, and it's the Aston Martin of, no, it's DB the best exiting the corner, safety car on track. That car is, well, it's shed a lot of front wing, even more now. Several drivers losing front wing there. I think Slayerized, yes it is. It had to have been the Red Bull of Slayerized. His front wing is gone. The entire procession, minus Say and Electric Blade, and Valentine for that matter, making their way into the pit lane. It is going to be a front wing change for Reimer. He's missing the end plate on the left front side. He was closest to DB the best in that. I'm thinking maybe did the Mercedes get tapped from Reimer there, which resulted in him getting collected and Slayerized getting collected as well. A lot of front wing changes being had here. That'll allow Say to keep the lead. Electric Blade second, Valentine third, Brian Mosser fourth, Frenchie fifth. So a lot of the drivers that pit under that first safety car in a good way here. Oh, look at that. Say, I think, may have gone off track there temporarily. I'm not rightly sure. But either way, big conundrum coming out of turn 27. It's not often you get oversteer enough to really spin the car around. I'm thinking there may have been not necessarily foul play involved, but yeah, you really don't see oversteer take that much of a toll exiting that corner. If anything, it's just hitting the wall on the outside, trying to exit the corner. You do get a little bit of wheel spin. He must have had it matted to the floor to get that much. So I'm going to assume that there may have been other drivers involved in that accident. But Say now the only driver on track who has yet to pit. If he stops now, he'll only lose the 4 positions from Electric Blade on back, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to be stopping for what is most likely the hard tires here. That'll put everybody, well, I say everybody. Valentine's stopped for the mediums on the initial safety car. Cake Thomas stopped for the mediums. Remember, he started on the softs. Adel Tonian and Ambu Mason have both chosen the mediums, and Knuckles goes to the softs. So Say looks as if he's going to be coming back out on track in P4, maybe P5 here. Depends. Yep, it's going to be P5 unless the Ferrari behind books it down the straight here and overtakes the Alpine. And I don't want to say he was on pace for a Grand Slam, but he has the fastest lap. He started on pole, and prior to now, he's led every lap of the Grand Prix. So, Say, unfortunately, if he does win today, he'll be a little couple of requirements shy of the Grand Slam. But I tell you what, he has definitely got some pace on that Alpine. I would definitely be looking out for him still to come here. Will step aside once more as the safety car gets itself back in. Before I do that, Mandigos and Knuckles pitting here, which is slightly odd. This will be the second stop for these two. No front wing change. Whoa, I tell you what. Mandigos, now that I look at it, now this is interesting here. He is missing front wing end plate on that right front side. I think that was supposed to be a wing change pit stop. for the Aston Martin, and it's not happened. Knuckles doesn't appear to have damage. I think that may have been purely strategical from the Red Bull there, but Manigos, I think, will have to pit again at some point. Slightly odd, has to be said. Well, the safety car will make its way in at the end of this lap. While we were away, the 4 drivers of Frenchie, Brian Mosser, Aid Altonian, and Mandigos have decided to stop in additional time. Frenchie and Brian Mosser putting on the mediums, Aid Altonian to the hards. It was actually a very good double stack there from the AlphaTauris. And Mandigos got his front wing changed, which we saw before the break, was yet to be fixed. About to begin the 10th lap of the Grand Prix here, Electric Blade inherits the lead after Say pits and will come out P3. On the 2-lap-old hard tires, you could argue he's on the better tires out of those in the top 2. Valentine's mediums might still be quick. Electric Blade's hards will be, good for a little while longer. Green flag back in the air here. The question is going to be how well does the 2 drivers ahead defend from the Alpine here, as there goes Say already down to the inside. He's actually incredibly outbraked the McLaren then, and well, I tell you what, Say made that one look relatively easy. Nicely done there from the Alpine. Electric Blade is a 6.5 tenths of a second advantage now. Fire Up Flow has Valentine in the sights here through Sector 1 here. Now this is what was giving, we have a yellow flag in the back. I believe Brian Mosser, something's happened with the Alpine. Through Sector 1, Valentine may have had another mistake there on the opening lap. We saw him have that. Kate Thomas down to the inside now. Oh, Fire Up Flow is going to go way wide on the outside of the corner. We don't oftentimes see drivers take to the runoff area there, and that's what's happened. That'll now back up the Red Bull of Slayer Eyes, Noganator, and I think DB the Best in this battle as well. 4 cars now suddenly in position to get around Fire Up Flow. Here goes DB the Best trying to find the way inside as the Noganator gets around Slayer Eyes. The 2 McLarens inverting positions there, and now the battle for the lead as Say gets around Electric Blade somewhere in the proceedings, and Say will retake the top spot. Shame I missed that. That was probably a great move. Reimer now trying to find move around Valentine, looking in towards turn 27. Electric Blade, however, really close to Say here. This is for the battle for the lead, and was really within a tenth there not too long ago into the braking zone at turn 27. Not quite enough room to make anything happen, but as they start the 11th lap of the Grand Prix, Say has gone from 3rd to 1st and takes the top spot once more. Reimer will overtake Valentine here into the first corner. Valentine playing it, I would say, a little bit easier here. He knows he's not exactly on the best tire strategy, and keeping his nose clean will definitely be the better choice. Although he's gone deep into turn 4 there, Fire Up Flow nearly wanted to have a look to the inside of Valentine. Didn't quite have the real estate to make it happen. Through the remainder of Sector 1, the top 3 now separated by a 1.5 seconds from each other each. Reimer is the closest to Kate Thomas here, 0.7 of a second in closing. Fire Up Flow, this time through turn 13, gets through it all right. Remember, last time he had gone quite wide. Mercedes versus Red Bull here. We've seen this before at Saudi Arabia, and side by side in towards turn 16 and 17 here. And DB the Best will get Slayer Eyes actually quite well, and the car goes round. Oh, and that's a massive contact there with Aid Altonian, 2 cars off the track. Brian Mosser hits the wall in sympathy. And unfortunately, I don't think there was very much for Aid Altonian to do. That Mercedes had gone around clean coming out of turn 16 and 17. I remember he had an incident there in the qualifying session, except that was kind of in the middle of the corner. And a 2-car accident there results in the 3rd safety car of the day. Now, do we see any more tire strategy pitting here? We just might. Into the pit lane goes the top 3 cars. I would assume more sets of medium tires going on for all of them. Reimer decides to stay out. Reimer, one of those drivers that does like to mess around with tire strategies a little bit. Always has an idea up his sleeve, and sometimes they work, so we'll have to wait and see. I say sometimes, I'm not trying to be rude, but when you do try to take alternate strategies like this, it is a big risk. A couple more drivers stay out on track. Ambu Mason stays out. Frenchie stays out. Everybody else has decided to come in. Frenchie looks as if... Frenchie, the last remaining driver to stay out on track. Everybody else has decided to come in. Manigos as well. And it looks like he's gone to an additional set of hard tires. Remember, he had to stop twice under the previous safety car. 3 safety cars in the 12 laps that we've had in this Grand Prix so far. Well, the safety car will be in at the end of this lap. Halfway through the Grand Prix, on pace for 6 safety car today, as we're just about to finish up our third here so far. Reimer inherits pole position, the top spot from Fire Up Flow and Slayerized here. On back, Anbu Mason and Say round out the top 5. The 4 out of the top 5 have chose not to stop under that safety car, and that's why they're at the top here. About to begin the 14th lap. We're down to 13 drivers after that last incident. We saw DB DeVest go around, exiting turn 16 and 17, and Nate Eltonian, unfortunate for him, I'm assuming kind of had nowhere to go and was collected in the proceedings. Green flag back in the air here. Reimer has a second advantage over Fire Up Flow as they make their way down the pit straight. Fire Up Flow kind of having to break the toe there. Say now having a look down to the inside of Anbu Mason. And it looks as if he's going to get it. Now, similar to the last safety car, Say went from third to first. He's going to have to go from 5th up to first now. Going to be a little bit more work to do, but he's on the freshest tires out of anybody in the top 5 here. He may have a very fair chance. Through Sector 1 they go. A 1/10 of a second is between the Alpine and the Red Bull here. Very difficult and scary to go one by one through that section of the track, assuming that the car in front of you can make a mistake at any time. Say gets down to the inside through turn 13, and he'll be up to 3rd. It's 2 positions gained in the lap since the safety car comes in here. And now Electric Blade watching Anbu Mason and Slayerized battle on ahead. Looking to get himself within the top 5. Electric Blade on fresh medium tires as well. Could very well have a chance. He'll try to force his way to the right side around Anbu Mason. He's got the Red Bull there as well. Into the wall he goes. Contact being made. And I'm assuming, well, I don't know how no front wing was taken. Oh, and a big accident there. And Anbu Mason takes too much of the wall on the inside of the turn 22. Collects Electric Blade as well. And I think Mandigos might be missing a bit of front wing. I do know that the Ferrari, I think, is definitely missing some front wing there. Yes, he is. It's the end plate on the left front side. Meanwhile, Say takes the 2nd spot away from Fire Up Flow, but the carnage just not ceasing here. And that all started making their way down the DRS section through Sector 2. It was a bit of a conundrum there with Slayerized Anbu and Electric Blade. And it results in a very talented driver here, and one that I think could have been on pace for a podium into the pit lane. And a good result might not be in the cards here for the Ferrari. And now, after the 2.5 advantage Reimer had, since the safety car coming in, it's down to 2/10 of a second as Say about to try to make the move for the lead of the Grand Prix once more. He started 5th when the safety car came in, mind you, and here he is battling for the lead. Towards 16 and 17 now. Next time by, we'll have 10 laps to go in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, the beginning of Season 12. Off to a calamitous start here. As Say now looking for the Aston Martin. No DRS in play. I don't believe we've actually had DRS so far this Grand Prix. If we had, only for maybe one straight. 2.5 tenths here and closing. The Alpine in position here. Well, let's see how Reimer chooses to defend. He takes the outside line. Say's going to have to go low. Reimer will have more pace on the outside, but the back end of the car has gotten away from Reimer. I don't think any contact was made there. Say takes the lead. And as we begin the 16th lap of the Grand Prix, 10 to go. Reimer now, I tell you what, Reimer looking for the outside. Say's going to have to force him the long way around. He'll have the better line through the 2nd corner, and Say finds enough traction on the outside there to get around Reimer well. Half a second separating Cake Thomas from Slayerized. 3.5 tenths separating Noganator from Cake Thomas. Noganator has had a fairly quiet day so far, and he's on pace to have himself a good result. I felt as if last season was, I don't want to say a bit of a letdown, but to his standards, it was not going to be the season to look out for. He's here in Division 2. He's looking to restake his claim as one of the fastest drivers in Division 2. He was on the cusp of promotion just a couple of seasons ago, and I'm thinking now, could he be on pace? to make something happen here. Of course, it's a long season we have ahead of us that'll take us all the way to the release of F1 24. 0.4 of a second here between Cake Thomas and Slayerized for the 4th spot. Cake Thomas in what very well could be a bounce-back season for him. DRS activated for the McLaren here. I don't think he's going to have any problem going around the outside, and Cake Thomas will take P4. He next up has the Ferrari of Fire Up Flow at the head of this train here, as the 2 cars ahead of him are a second and a half at least ahead of each other. That'll mean Cake Thomas could have a very straightforward time trying to overtake this Ferrari ahead. I don't believe either he had DRS there or it didn't open. I'm not rightly sure. I didn't see it open. Maybe I went along a little bit late, as it does close under braking, as I believe we have Brian Mosser off at 27. Yeah, something's happened with him. Not quite sure what. Nice little 5-car battle here for what could be the 3rd spot. Mandy goes in on this as well. He's had himself one hell of a day so far. He's had to pit, I think, at least one more time more than anyone else. Noganator down to the inside through 13. This is a kind of a gutsy place to make it happen. Oversteer is definitely possible. Noganator still on the left side now. They're going to have to be side by side in the 16 and 17. I don't believe either of them are willing to lift, and they don't. And that'll force Noganator wide. That'll allow Mandigos to take that 6th spot. Yeah, that was a bold one there. Slayer, and I think Mandigos allowing Slayerized to have the spot back. Both of them having the DRS and the Red Bull shot pass. I'm assuming it was seating position there. Cake Thomas now down to the inside. He will get Fire Up Flow for the 3rd spot. We now have Mandigos around the right side of Slayerized in towards turn 27, and the Aston Martin will get there before the braking zone. Although the Red Bull had a look down to the inside, he's not going to quite be close enough to make anything happen, although he is still right there. It's now a 6-second advantage for Say over Reimer, although it has to be said Cake Thomas is entering the picture here. He's now within a second of that Aston Martin. As they make their way through Sector 1, it looks as if we got a good battle going on here. Can Brian Mosser find something around Electric Blade? Electric Blade, remember, had to pit not long ago, was involved in another accident then, and unfortunately had to fix a front wing. In towards turn 13 now. Cake Thomas, 4.5 5/10 of a second back to Reimer now, I will say. Reimer's hard tires are holding up surprisingly well, and Slayerized is off, exiting turn 13. The carcass of that Red Bull off the track and in the middle of the circuit, and we have another safety car here. And we're down to 11. Well, Virtual Burn Mylander and that safety car is getting its miles in today. This will be the 4th time it takes to the circuit, as we are about to begin the 19th lap of the Grand Prix, and I would expect Say to come in here for the soft tires. And I think that's exactly what he's going to do. And yep, soft tires on for Say. Reimer coming in as well. I would assume it's going to be soft tires for him. Reimer's actually in a pretty good spot here. When he does pit, he won't lose that many positions. In fact, I don't think he'll lose any. Soft tires for the Aston Martin. He will probably retain at least 3rd or 4th here. And it looks as if Valentine stays out. Frenchie stays out as well. Frenchie is going to come out of the pits behind the Alpine of Say, but we do now have the McLaren of Valentine atop the grid. And it looks as if the procession making their way out of the pit lane here. It looks as if Ken Knuckles and Electric Blade as well as Brian Moss are on their way in. I'll step aside yet again here. Well, the safety car will make its way in at the end of this lap. Valentine has the lead of the Grand Prix here. We'll have 5 laps to go this time by, Everybody minus Valentine and Frenchie have decided to stop that last time. Frenchie currently resides on 7-lap-old soft tires, Valentine on 8-lap-old mediums, and it has to be said, Valentine, it's good to see him at the top of the grid here. I'm afraid we might be seeing the rest of the grid overtake him here shortly, as those soft tires are just going to be that much quicker than the mediums here in the immediate going. But I've seen some crazy things happen, so we'll have to wait and see. Hoping that Valentine can hold on here, but he'll have a lot of work to do. As they exit turn 27, Valentine and Say have already gotten out to a massive jump here. Green flag back in the air. Say already looking for the outside into turn 1. Frenchie losing positions. He's actually into the pit lane. Not really sure what's happened there. Valentine breaks early, and Say will have the lead. Kate Thomas trying to stay down to the inside on Reimer. Contact being made. Trying to keep it clean through the first couple of corners. Fire Up Flow now to the left side. He'll have the inside through turn 4, and it looks as if Fire Up Flow will make the spot happen. Very nicely done. For the time being, Reimer has a second and a half back to Valentine here. Valentine seems to have gotten away pretty well. Those tires still have some good pace in them. Noganator now trying to have a look to the inside of Cake Thomas here for the 5th spot. Cake Thomas has not been off to the best of starts. Reimer gets the spot over Valentine through turn 13. He was about 0.8 of a second clear of the Aston Martin by the time they got into the corner. That's actually surprising what's happened just then. Fire Up Flow next in line. He'll try the right side through well, how do we describe this? Through the left and rights of Sector 2 here. Valentine will go deep into the corner. That'll allow Fire Up Flow the right side. This is allowing Cake Thomas back into the picture for the podium here. He's going to have to try to help his McLaren teammate. Cake Thomas trying the outside. He'll have to try to get both of them and Fire Up Flow. Cake Thomas will back out. He's still on the outside here. Valentine and the Ferrari still battling it out, and now Valentine loses third, but it looks as if he might have a good opportunity to strike back here. Down to the inside. Cake Thomas choosing not to go for the way outside on the way into the first corner. Fire Up Flow has the spot. Now we find the two McLarens battle here as they make their way through Sector 1. Valentine has not gotten a good exit at a turn 3. Either that or he's allowing his teammate to go past. Down to 5th for Valentine. Either way, if Valentine is still able to finish within the top 5 here, that's a driver of the day, worthy performance. He's up 11 positions so far. But he's got Electric Blade to deal with now. In towards turn 13, Electric Blade wanted to send it to the inside. It didn't quite have the room, and a little bit of oversteer there, getting onto the throttle. Hits the wall there on the way into turn 17, turn 16 and 17. Next time by will be 3 laps to go. Noganator, and I think Noganator may have made contact with Mandy Ghost there as they make their way through Sector 2. Close battling happening now. Valentine goes deep through the corner. Oh, and he gets back on track, and he collects. Noganator had to go into the wall. Valentine losing spots now. And I think Valentine's not going to be happy there. Unfortunately, he had just gone deep into 22, and it may have just been pure error on his part. Noganator trying to find it around the outside. Mandy goes in this as well. DRS enabled. They won't have it until making their way through Sector 2. Mandy goes to the inside now. He's looking for P6 over the Noganator, and he might get it. Does he now try to find P5 over Electric Blade? And I tell you what, who gets the better of the braking zone in the corner? Contact with the left rear tire of the Ferrari, and it looks as if the Ferrari will stay ahead. The battle is on now for the 2nd spot. Reimer has a 5.5 second disadvantage to Say, and Fire Up Flow now within the second of Reimer, and Cake Thomas in this as well. We might see ourselves a good little finish here for the podium positions. Noganator within 2.5 tenths now of Los Mandigos as they make their way entering Sector 2. Coming up to about 2.5 laps to go here on what's been a very interesting, to say the least, Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Cake Thomas now an 0.8 of a second disadvantage to Fire Up Flow, and I'm thinking Reimer may have had a better exit of turn 16 and 17. I don't believe Fire Up Flow actually had DRS back to the Aston Martin that time, and now will be very much under pressure from Cake Thomas. This next time by, 2 laps to go. Well, this is an interesting sight to be had here as Mandigos gets around Electric Blade. I was about to say, should Electric Blade take the 5th spot, it will be all except the top 2 who have improved positions at the end of the race. What an interesting turn of events that would be. Electric Blade around the outside now. He'll have that spot. Cake Thomas now trying to make some gains back to Fire Up Flow here for the 3rd spot. Fire Up Flow showing some good pace at the moment. It's a 6.5 second advantage for Say at the top of the charts. Noganator now 0.3 of a second behind Mandigos here. Mandigos, who was pressuring Electric Blade not long ago, will have the Alfa Romeo to challenge now. And the battle that we were seeing between Reimer, Fire Up Flow, and Cake Thomas seems to have subsided. It's about a 1.5 seconds between the 3 of them each. This is currently the closest battle on track here for the 5th spot. Mandigos not getting any closer to Electric Blade here. Very much under pressure from Noganator, who is looking to improve. Let's see what happens. No drivers on track currently with time penalties. But has to be said, Say here in what's been a dominating performance, making his way out of turn 27 to start the final lap of the Grand Prix. Knuckles getting around Noganator that time, that being for P7. Noganator's going to try to strike back down to the inside, and he's not quite going to be close enough to make a move on the Red Bull here. He'll have DRS down the pit straight. Whether he does it into turn 1, I don't think he's going to have the time to do so, although Mandigos gets around Electric Blade into the first corner. That'll promote the Aston Martin to 5th. And I think that would pretty much outright give the lead of the constructors to the Aston Martin team. Unless, can the Ferrari of Electric Blade get himself back into the picture here? Final lap of the Grand Prix underway. Electric Blade 2/10 of a second behind the Aston Martin here, but it looks as if Mandigos has got him outpaced through Sector 1 so far. It's going to have to be made with DRS if the overtake is to happen. Knuckles in pursuit of this battle as well. Heading into 16 and 17 here for the final time. Cake Thomas down by about a full second here. I think he was within detection zone range there to have DRS. No! So Cake Thomas will not have DRS down this straight, and I don't believe he's going to have it here either through the spoon curve. But the real story of the day, belonging to Say, a driver who has dominated from start to finish. Oh, and he's clobbered the outside wall there. But the Alpine of Say has dominated today, and he will win the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. An absolutely incredible result for the Alpine. Reimer going to come home to finish second, started second, finishes second. Fire Up Flow third, Cake Thomas fourth. Knuckles fifth. It looks as if Electric Blade nearly had a look for it there at the line. It's less than a 1/10 of a second between those two. Valentine's going to come home to finish 9th. Brian Mosser 10th. And Frenchie eventually 11th. And, well, I tell you what, after that Grand Prix is all said and done, stick with us for next week, the second round of Season 12 here when we head to the Hungaro Ring. Hotspot, it's been a pleasure joining you this time out, and we'll see you next time.